Call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. It's 6:08 p.m. We're gonna go to roll call, and then we'll go off formalities and go straight to the presentation.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya.
Present.
Vice Mayor Miguel Villalpando. Councilmember Luis Galindo.
He'll be late. He's coming.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan.
He's at a conference, Mayor.
Councilmember Martha Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Juan Castillo.
Present.
Member Lorena Sendejas.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We've got a presentation, discussion of special events, budget for fiscal year 2022-23.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will go ahead and have Ms. Andrea put the spreadsheet with events. As you can see on your screen, for the fiscal year of 21 and 22, our total expenditure was $137,480.89. The total revenue that all these events brought in, including beer sales, water and sodas, registrations from the UTV party, the 10x10 spaces, it was a total revenue of $56,543.45. The net event cost came down to $80,937.44. Last year, Mayor and Council approved the budget of $113,500. So it left us with $7,562.56 that was not touched. Any questions, comments? As you can see on your right side, we have the forecasted event budget for the fiscal year of 22-23. The team is forecasting that for this coming fiscal year, we're going to need $142,600 in order for us to cover all the events. This does not include sponsorships and in-kind services that we're forecasting that we will be getting for the events. Any questions, comments?
182 from how much? From 113, so it's an increase of...
The increase would be around 20,000. So the expenditure budget, it's forecasted of what we as a team think will be the cost for next year's events, taking in consideration the total expenditures from the previous year. As you can see, some events have increased because of the increase because of this of the increase of cost that's going on as of now. Questions, comments? I practiced asking
Mayor.
questions.
Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned the 142.6, but it can be that it is less than that amount because you're working or you're going to work on sponsorships and all that stuff.
Yes. So our goal as a team is always to bring in as much sponsorship as possible in the in-kind services. We're just forecasting that, right now there's an increase in cost. An example of this is the 4th of July. This year, a 15-minute show is going to be $18,700. They are quoting us $1,250 per minute. The 4th of July is an example of one of the events that we have a harder time getting sponsorship. We as a team feel that it could be because it's a localized event and each city, has their own event. But of course, our goal is to spend less of the $142,600. And of course, I ask for the budget authority that if we do get sponsorships from each event, that we are allowed to use that budget authority as sponsorship is coming in per event.
Do we have a mechanism if we get sponsorships that it go back to the general fund? Because if history, tells us we were spending the whole budget on events, even though we get sponsorship. So that's my question, because, for example, the UTV event, we donated money, and I feel that if it's a city event, it should go back to the general fund. What are we doing? Donating funds. So my question is for us as a finance director: what mechanisms do we have in order we get sponsorships more than what we think we can, that we replenish this budget?
Mayor, council members, so we track all the sponsorships in their own account. So special events has a sponsorship account within the general fund that tracks everything we receive, as well as the events line item. So we track all the expenditures and the revenues. So everything is done out of the general fund. So all these numbers are within the general fund. So when we receive a sponsorship from a vendor, it goes back into the general fund. And when we pay out from events for these expenditures, it comes from the general fund.
Okay. I have a question, Mayor. Yes. Can I ask how much money did we receive in sponsorship last year?
For which event?
For in general, for the last year.
So the sponsorships and revenue, it would be on the total revenue item, the 56,543. So that'll include sponsorships from the UTV, registrations, sales from water, soda. That's all in that column.
Okay.
So you receive 56,000 in extra money.
Yes. Now this is a presentation for council. In my spreadsheet, each event has, you can see who sponsored the event, what got paid. That would be on a more detailed. But to make it easier for me to present to you all, revenue I included, which was sponsorships, 10x10 spaces, UTV registrations, and anything that we made out of water, sodas, and beer.
The column, the net budget versus expenditure, what does that?
The
last column.
7,562.
Yes.
So what we do is that the budget that Mayor and Council approved last year, the 113,500, we subtracted from the 80,937 with 44 cents, and we get the 7,562 with 56 cents. That's what wasn't spent.
So city funds, after sponsorships and everything, that's the net event cost. So that's 80,000 that city funds were spent.
So including the sponsorships that we used to pay for some of the expenses that were used in the events, we minused that from the 137,480 and 89 cents. So we came up with the 80,937 with 44 cents. So as an example, last year, Mayor and Council gave the team a budget of 20,000. As sponsorship came in, that's how we knew what could be purchased and not purchased for that specific event.
So this year we're seeing an increase of about approximately 29,000, right?
Yes. Stage and sound increased their cost for 2,000. Like I had mentioned earlier, for 4th of July, the fireworks, it was a 14% increase. So now what used to cost way less is now double because of the demand of shipment and getting access to the material that's needed for the event.
So would you say you anticipate maybe getting the same sponsorship from the total revenue from 21-22 to on the 22-23 year?
We are hopeful, but we're taking into consideration that it's a little bit, everyone is struggling with the increase of gas. A lot of businesses, they're barely getting, to a happy medium due to COVID. So we're hoping that we're going to get all this sponsorship, but for that same reason, on the UTV block party, we got 42,494 with 25 cents. I want to be safer than sorry, so we're hoping that we're going to get 27,500 of sponsorship.
So let's say with on that end, let's say it's costing us 142,600 for all the city events. Let's say if we get 50,000, in total revenue. So that means at the end of the year, we're really looking at 142,600 minus the 50,000 that we're gonna get in the revenue. So in reality, it's only costing us 92,000.
So yes. So for example, last year, Mayor and Council approved the 113,500, but taking in consideration all the total revenue that the events brought in, the cost for events was 80,937. That's how it left us with the 7,562.
I'm sorry, Brisa. So your net event costs, all of those cost $80,000.
Because of the sponsorships that we were able to get.
Okay.
You know what? I'm sorry, Reese. I think I'm not following for the 21-22. If we have the net budget was 113,500, right?
Yes.
But it cost us 80,937.
Yes.
Right. So we get the 8937, but we got 56,543. Do we subtract that 56 to 80?
So the total revenue so the total expenditure amount, which is the 137,480.89, we minus it with the total revenue, which is the 56,543 with 45 cents. That gave us the total net cost of 80,937 with 44 cents. Now to get the 7,562, we got the total budget that Mayor and Council approved last year, and we minus it by the 80,937 with 44 cents, and that gives us 7,562 with 56 cents. It took me a week to learn my numbers. Don't feel bad.
No, it makes sense.
Serena, can you come to the podium, please?
Have it hard to see. So revenues for UTV that were brought in from sponsorships and registrations were 42,000, and the expenditures were 51,000. That's what gives you like a net negative. Is that what it is? A net negative of 8,000. So expenditures exceeded revenues by 8,841.69. And then the way you're getting the 11,000 is by subtracting, or by, I guess, adding the negative to the budget. So if you combine the 8,000, the negative 8,841.69 with the 20,000 is where you get essentially a net profit of 11,000. Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
What was the approved budget last year for special events?
For the UTV?
No, for special events.
For the special events, it was 113,500.
Well,
Now,
the Battle of Cheladas was not approved. It was after the fact, right?
it was recently, so
So what was the approved budget last year for special events? It was that minus 25,000?
yes, sir. It was that minus the 25,000.
Yeah, so that I don't know, just, I know council approved it, but that's something to keep in mind. I would like, and I'm sure Serena would love to budget it, not do it in the middle of the fiscal year. We plan something, I think we go with it because you lose because the approved budget was 113 minus 25, so it was under 100,000. Now it's 113, and now it's going to increase more. So you lose sight of that, and I feel that we are kind of maximized on special events. We're known as the best little city for special events or best events in Yuma County, but I think we stay with this and make them better. But just be including more and more. I think I would be, against next year if it comes about. So we are thinking of a special event, bring it forward now instead of during the year. $25,000. I'm sure it wasn't.
And
I didn't hear from Serena, but I'm sure she wasn't too amused. So
and that's great. And that's great feedback, Mayor. I was wishy-washy in adding the 25 or not, because it wasn't part of the presentation of last year. But because it got approved within the fiscal year, I said might as well add it. But if you can see, that was an event that I really didn't try to forecast that much because I'm still we're still working with that event. That event in itself, it's still the event that we had in May, and I believe it was the Battle of the Salsas. We just changed the theme up to see if we can attract more.
So we did have a budget, right? Like, was it 8,000?
Yes, it was 8,000.
So the only difference was that difference of 17,000.
Are we having the luchadores next year?
I'm not sure.
Mayor, also things to take into consideration that the budget spreadsheet does not have is the in-kind sponsorships that are not part of this budget, obviously. Another item that's not on there as well is the parks and recreation staff, including public works, as far as the pre and then post cleanup.
And one thing I'm seeing here on the sponsored events, seems like every year we repeat. Look at my minutes the last 2 years and see the events that council said that doesn't meet our policy. I'm not going to repeat it again.
Now the team has talked in the past that maybe we should look into these events and maybe strategize if there is time to change the theme, or maybe instead of an example is if Somerton Greater Days, an example, we're not bringing in the crowd that we've done in the past. Granted, I feel that the weather didn't help on Somerton Greater Days, but maybe instead of doing a big event for Somerton Greater Days, we could do more like a dinner to honor and all our residents who've lived in Somerton for many years. Another conversation that we've had is maybe we could save costs on the light parade. It's a tradition, but I know the neighborhood parade was also very successful, and we didn't use any city funds to do that, with the exception of the labor. So as a team, we've talked about how we can save costs on these events for the same reason that it's expensive and we're trying to be conservative.
Expensive or not, I like the light parade and Greater Days. Just my.
Mayor, I have a question back to the spreadsheet. Just wanna. Just looking at it. So the net event, everything for the year cost us $80,937, right? When everything was said and done.
Yes.
And when I see that we budgeted $113,500, I see a difference of when it says over here net budget versus expense. I see there's a difference of $32,562. So where are the other 25,000?
Would those be the 25,000 that we just added for the Battle of the Cheladas?
I thought so. That wasn't added to the 113.
No, so that's what Mayor Anaya was saying, that the Battle of the Cheladas, the increased budget was added maybe 2 months ago. So when Mayor and Council approved the previous budget for the fiscal year of 21-22, instead of 25,000, that was 8,000.
So,
I just thought it was formulated. Sorry.
council member, if you subtract 25,000 from 113,500
It's 88.5.
and then subtract it from the 80,000, that's the 7,500.
Okay.
So
Okay.
think of the 113 as being 87,000 plus or $88,000. No, Zarina, not in her head.
No, but you know what? I just,
Yeah, me either.
no, but I actually just added all of them, and the Battle of the Chelas is included in the 113,500. So if it is, and it cost us, the net was 80,937, that's how much it at the end of the day, that's how much we spent. Taking into the donations and everything, that still leaves me with the balance of 32,562.
But we're spending 25 on the Battle of Chelas.
No, but that's included in the 113,500.
Yes, but it hasn't been included in the budget as far as total revenues, expenditures, or net costs, because
Minus
it hasn't taken place yet.
Because it's going to happen until May 7th. So I added it on the budget, and I should have known. I just didn't know what Mayor and Council would want, so I went ahead and added it. But if we take off the 25, then the budget would go down.
Got it. Just wanted to be sure. I was okay.
But next year, right now, I know what's expected.
Yeah, okay.
And Mayor and Council, this is obviously just a draft
Right.
to make sure that we put it together for our total budget in May. But this is just the ideas that were coming along and making sure that if we need to make some changes, obviously this is the perfect time to make those changes to make sure that we meet budget. And also many of the sponsored events, maybe some of them we might have to remove. Move the budget around on the actual city events, and then look at overall as far as any future events / requested events. We need to look at that carefully and what council may want to do with those events, as some of these special requests or, within some of these events, folks from the city of Yuma and or other places might request a special event during the week, maybe on a Saturday. And those obviously are not part of this event schedule, but it does cost us staff timing. And so we need a little bit more guidance in terms of those special events, either from outside or even if it's some of our council members that request certain events, which we love to have the events. We just need to make sure that we schedule them in advance to make the appropriate decisions. We had several actually great ideas that we want to have for next year, or even if this year, depending on council's direction. And one event that occurs to my mind that Councilwoman Garcia mentioned, and I love that idea, is having like a yard sale type event at Council Park on a Saturday and or Sunday, which definitely would help with the cleaning of the city in September, because we're moving in September. Those type of events do definitely help the overall cleaning and the overall part of the event schedule. At least that's just one of the ideas. Another one, the bike race, the gentleman that put that together also wanted to have something on a Saturday, but that also puts a burden on city staff because it does cost money, because we're using staff to make sure we have chairs, tents, and so forth and so on.
One thing, when McGahee was here, we discussed the policy, and I bring it up every time we discuss this. Let's revisit that and let's make decisions. So a lot of that staff has the blueprint of what to follow, and if it falls outside that, then it comes to council. Well, it was something that was when Chief Torito was here too. I don't know, remember we discussed it, and I think Angelica was here, and I think it was done into like a special event application, and so something that we discussed when we were talking about this. I was hoping to have that today and start discussing that, but I think especially with council members being involved with different organizations or knowing people, we get requests all the time from special groups, and they can help us out and whatever. But at least if staff has it, at least they have that. And if it's outside that, then we can discuss. So I think we should have that before adding or entertaining other events where staff time is needed. So but we did discuss like the churches that request. We had traffic control that we would be able to let them use, but they would have to use their own volunteers, stuff like that. So we treat everybody the same, and it was a good. And I don't remember. I guess it wasn't adopted because we looked for it, but there has to be somewhere there. And I had asked you, Mr. Cabrera, did you request with the?
We couldn't find it.
But did you call Ian and see if
we were going to get together?
Okay, so. Yeah, that's something that I think when we discuss this, it's important to have that, because that gives you at least something to look at, and you treat everybody the same. Doesn't matter if it's whoever, my church or your church or whatever nonprofit it is. I think we should have another work session for that and actually get all the information that we request. For that.
So as far as the sponsored events, is that budget still? You want to make adjustments to that?
It is a presentation. I guess we're gonna go into budget and see if it's sustainable, and that's when we start making decisions. We're gonna hold this special events or benefits adjustments, so everything's in place. So at least as a start, you're showing your budget, and later on, we need to adopt a balanced budget, and we take everything into account. At least that's for me. But right now, it looks good. It looks like there was a lot of thought between. It doesn't seem out of the ordinary, and at least that's my feelings. Councilmember Sendejas.
I have a question, Brisa. For the Battle of the Cheladas, you mentioned that that was there, but it was named something else. What was the amount that was projected for that?
So previously to the Battle of the Cheladas, we had the Lucha de Mayo, which was $8,000, and the team had brainstormed that we were going to bring in wrestlers.
Okay.
But we were having issues getting the talent because of COVID and them being able to get their visas approved.
But you were budgeted the 8,000, right? So why?
Yes.
And I understand, you mentioned that there's an increase of the cost of the stage and so, but why didn't you keep it at 8,000 for this year and then bring it up to council for the next year to 25 instead of automatically adding 25 to it?
So if we wanted the theme of the Battle of the Cheladas in itself, I wouldn't have had enough to purchase a stage. Normally, stage and sound will at least cost $12,000. Before it was 10, and now the lowest bid that I've had in the past is 12. So in itself, if I would have kept the 8, I would already been negative if I didn't get the sponsorship for the event. So the 25,000 was what we forecasted we would need for the event. We haven't had a lot of sponsorship for the event. So an example of is the team went ahead and hired local bands that didn't cost the city that much money.
Thank you.
I think maybe for next year's presentation, analyze each event. I know there's lessons learned, and you get it from all council members, probably individually. Hey, the parking lot wasn't open, or this, whatever. But I think for next year, we can present each event and lessons learned and any changes that were discussed. But if we have them when it's fresh, the week after the event, and yeah, it can be, send that to council, but at the end that for next year's presentation, have that and see what can be adjusted, what were the issues, and maybe we can have a more productive conversation because right now I don't remember 4th of July very. Remember there was, wasn't a Sunday or?
It was Sunday.
Yeah, it was Sunday, yeah. So remember you mentioned something during the event about holding it some other day or something, but yeah, so it's good to have it when it's fresh and then we can show it, we can discuss it.
And I can do that, Mayor. The only thing is that 1 week after the event, I'm still paying.
Yeah, so something that's reasonable, 2 weeks or whatever.
So yeah, we can do that definitely. So whatever budget Mayor and Council approves, if Mayor and Council approve the 142,600, whatever the budget is, just if I could please get the authority budget to be able to use whatever sponsorship is coming in for each event.
And the only event you have this fiscal year is the Chelada, right? And it was approved by council?
Yes, it was approved 2 months ago.
So I guess we're not approving anything right now. We're just looking at it, right? And when we approve the budget, we will get approve each individual event.
It's only this is just a draft. Budget was already approved 2 months ago or 3 months ago was approved for the Vera de Chelas increase of 17,000. So that's. Yeah. But as far as lessons have learned, we definitely when we looked at Pepalooza and Summerton Greater Days, Summerton Greater Days was really cold, so there wasn't a lot of turnout. Pepalooza,
no parking.
There was an issue with the parking as well, and making sure that checklist in terms of after the whoever handles the traffic, make sure that everything was as was discussed. And then Pepalooza was nice, hot day, so a little bit more cold beverages sold would have been perfect too.
So after each event, the team gets together and we discuss that. Like Mr. Cabrera mentioned, in our checklist, now we add that someone from the team needs to make sure that traffic control is done correctly. We dropped the ball as a team, but that was not the approved plan. We usually get together. We have a team meeting prior. It's traffic control. Chief Juarez, Chief De Anda, and we discuss the plan. It's just that when I called the company that we hired, it was an honest mistake. He confused one plan with another, but that's something that we've added on the list to make sure someone checks the traffic control.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 6:41. Meeting's adjourned. No lo vas a poner present, ¿eh? No llegó a tiempo.
Yeah. You know what? It didn't make any sense for me at the beginning.